The next time you're with someone on a date and you feel like you've known them all your life,
that's not the right person.
Run. When you feel butterflies in your stomach,
Run.
that is your body's warning system.
What happens if you're holding on to the anger and resentment of another partner while you're in a relationship with a new partner?
That's a hot mess. And you see that, classic example is someone who was cheated on in the past, right?
And then they bring that in the new relationship.
They bring it into the new relationship. I get calls like that all the time from like these sweet guys who are like, I love this girl so much. I would never do anything to hurt her. And she was really mistreated in the past, and she just won't trust me, and she accuses me of these horrible things. And
it's the worst feeling.
It's the worst. But that she is not healed enough to be in a relationship yet. That's, that doesn't mean you have to break up. If you want to stick around with her and be the one that she works through it with, as long as she is doing the work. Because and I say this to these guys all the time, you could be the best person in the world and hold her hand 24/7, but you can't do this for her.
No, you can't.
She has to be willing to do it, and if she's not, then stuck there you will be.
You could sit there all day and be a puppy dog and say, I'm here for you, I'll do whatever. You're on call 24/7, and it'll never be enough, right? Because they still have to deal with the past and let it go.
Yeah. And usually, because I also get calls all the time or people reaching out saying, my wife and I divorced, or my husband and I divorced 10 years ago or 3 years ago, and I still can't get over it. I don't even want to be with it, but I still can't get over it.
Can't be with the person they were with.
Yeah, and what it is almost every single time is that it's not even about that person. It's about something that happened to them in childhood that this experience with the person reminds them of. So that person abandoned them, or left them suddenly, or cheated on them,
or was emotionally abusive,
right.
or
and there's this unconscious wish that if I could just make it right with that person, then I am making my past right.
Or can I heal the past?
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. When we keep getting into. It's a classic example is like the person who grew up with an alcoholic parents and says, I am never, ever, ever going to date an addict. And then they end up dating someone who's an alcoholic, and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that, never. And they ask the person, do you drink? Do you do drugs? No, okay. They fall in love. That person's a gambling addict. Like again and again and again. And it's like, and this is what I say to people, if you have a pattern like that where you keep dating the wrong person, then the next time you're with someone on a date and you feel like you've known them all your life.
That's not the right person.
Run. When you feel butterflies in your stomach, that is your body's warning system. Saying
every time or most times?
Most times. I would never say every time about anything, but I would say most times. And so if you're someone like that, go on 2 or 3 more dates with the person that you don't feel that immediately with.
Interesting.
Really date someone who's not your usual type.
Right.
And do that internal work.
Wow. Is this similar for same-sex relationships in terms of intimacy and sex, the same types of challenges that are faced with same-sex?
I tried to convince my publishers on my last book about sex, and I didn't get very far, but I didn't want to say male or female. I wanted to say masculine or feminine, or because in every relationship, whether it's 2 women together, 2 men together, men and whatever, there is like a yin and a yang. There's someone who's more in their masculine energy, and it doesn't have to be that the one in the masculine energy has a penis and the one in the feminine energy, has a vulva. Like, it doesn't matter what the physiology is, because I know lots of heterosexual relationships where she's more in her masculine and he's more in his feminine. But you have to have that dichotomy in order to have the chemistry and the connection. And also, so those same dynamics seem to unfold, but more along the masculine and the feminine than male or female.
Yeah, okay. And I'm hearing you say that the number one thing we can do to be better connected in a relationship is have better sex, is be more connected during sex. Is that
or
right?
outside of sex. Because it doesn't even, yes, if you're more connected during sex, but it's really about, the predictor was more about the general sense of connection in the case of women, in general in the relationship, right? So like the most common thing I'll see, let's say in heterosexual relationships who have been together for a while, is that uneven desire. You know,
meaning one person has more desire, the other person's like, I don't want, in sexual cases,
desire, right? So
one person wants sex more, the other person's tired or doesn't want it or not have the desire.
Right. And more often than not always, that's the woman, right? Or the feminine, right?
The feminine wants it more or doesn't want it?
Doesn't want it.
Why is that?
Well, for women, if we're talking about women, not just people in their feminine, for women, it's often hormonal and exhaustion. And we know that, like, for men in general, stress does not diminish your libido. Financial or work-related stress is the only kind that will negatively affect.
Really? So if you're feeling work-related stress or financial stress, you're less turned on?
Yeah, usually. Now, other kinds of stress with the mother-in-law or kid, whatever, like that won't affect as much. Women are affected by all stress. Then once they have kids and busy lives and exhaustion, because it's not that our sexual desire doesn't come from a physical place, but we have less testosterone. We react differently to stress and to sex, but to stress. So like, it's only been in the past 20 years that researchers have even figured out that women, when chronically stressed, actually our testosterone levels go down because of this whole chemical cascade.
Is the testosterone for women what's cultivates the sexual desire, or is it estrogen?
Estrogen helps. Estrogen plays a role with response and lubrication and that kind of thing. But for both men and women, it's testosterone is the hormone of desire, and men have a lot more of it than women do. But certainly with stress, with kids, with life, and so this is what's interesting. I kind of call it the sort of like a sex romance stalemate, because she doesn't have that natural drive. She's exhausted, she's juggling work and kids and life and whatever. The way that a man achieves emotional closeness in a relationship, the masculine, not even a man, is through the physical act of sex. That physical connection is a huge part of what makes him feel emotionally connected to her. And women are the opposite.
It's not the physical.
It's the emotional connection that makes us want to be physical.
Physically, you're trying. Interesting.
And so she's less interested and less available. And then he's not even conscious of it, but he's less romantic and attuned and sending those sweet texts, or, and she feels that and is that much less interested in having sex. And then he's that much less romantic. And then she may eventually say, you never send those sweet texts anymore. And if he's at all aware, he might say, well, we haven't had sex in 8 weeks. And she says, you pig, all you care about is sex. But she doesn't understand that that's his way of feeling emotionally connected.
So is it the man's responsibility or both?
It's both. It's about him, it's about the masculine. It doesn't have to be him. The masculine understanding that if you want more of that physical connection, you have to find your emotional and romantic connection from a place other than the physical.
So it's almost like you have to be something you're not.
Well, you just have to learn different languages of love. I mean, is it really
it's not your natural state, though, right?
Is it really being something you're not to, when it doesn't just come automatically to think about being romantic?
You have to be conscious about it.
You have to be conscious of it. And she, the feminine, has to be conscious that if she needs to love her partner in a way that will really land. And even if she'd rather be watching Bridgerton or doing the laundry or whatever else, or reading a book or FaceTiming or whatever, most women who have low desire will say that once they get started, they really enjoy it. It's just, they don't have that spontaneous horniness. And that's a myth that we get from the movies, that spontaneous horniness is supposed to be the source of sex. And it is maybe for the first 3 to
6 months.
Yeah, but after that, your sexual desire has got to come from a place other than spontaneous horniness.
Really?
Thank you for watching this video. If you want more inspiring clips like this, make sure to click right here to subscribe, and click right here to watch that next video that is specific to support you in your life.